This presentation on Czechoslovakian perfume bottles is brought to you by members of the Czech specialty group of the IPBA. We focus on the stopper bottles produced between the wars. We hope you enjoy. The country was formed after World War I, and surprisingly it was planned at a moose hall in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Near the end of the war, 20 Czechs, Slovaks, and Rusicans who were political activists living in the U.S. met and signed the Pittsburgh Agreement. It laid the foundation for the establishment of Czechoslovakia in late 1918 at the end of the war. Initially, it was two words, Czechoslovakia. At some point later, it became one word, and it will be seen both ways. Czechoslovakia was situated in Central Europe. It was comprised of four regions: Bohemia, Moravia, Slovakia, and Ruthenia. Bohemia was always a center of glass production and the area where our perfume bottles were made. Glass prior to 1918 is Bohemian, not Czechoslovakian, as the country didn't exist. It has been part of the Great Moravian Empire, the Holy Roman Empire, the Bohemian Empire, and finally the Austrian Empire until World War I. Glass was initially made for religious uses, but when the Bohemian dynasty rulers took over, they controlled who made glass and where. The control of the glass industry changed to the local estate owners under the early Austrian Empire. In the mid-1800s, glass schools were founded in Kamenecký Senov and Nový Bor. Glassmaking prospered with the introduction of the railroads in the 1870s, which brought in coal, and more glass houses were built. The new country of Czechoslovakia had opened more glass schools and created many glass products for export. The most prized Czech perfume items we collect were produced during this time. In 1938, the German Nazis invaded the country until the end of World War II. After 1945, the German glassmakers were expelled from the country, leaving behind some Czech makers, but not the magnitude to maintain the glass industry. In 1948, when the Communist Party took over, they merged the small producing companies into nationalized companies of greater size under Glasexport. In the 1950s, the glass coming out of Czechoslovakia was shown at world exhibitions and did well. After the fall of communism with the Velvet Revolution in 1989, the Slovaks wanted to have their own country. In 1993, Bohemia became part of the new Czech Republic, along with Moravia, but without Slovakia. The glass industry changed to older patterns of production and has prospered. Reproductions of the old perfume bottles appeared on the market around 1994. The amazing variety found in all other aspects of Czech perfume bottles also holds true for the colors of glass available. By experimenting with the ingredients added to the glass mix, Czech glassmakers were able to produce a veritable rainbow of colors. Basic colors include clear, pink, purple, blue, yellow, green, red, and black. However, with each basic color group, there may be a wide range of hue going from light to dark. The thickness of the glass and whether the surface is frosted or polished can affect how the color is perceived. Pink may go from blush to rose. Purple may go from lavender to amethyst, or from heather to violet. Blue may go from pale ice blue to cobalt, from aquamarine to turquoise. Green may range from apple to emerald, and yellow may go from soft champagne to canary, and from gold to dark amber. Red tends to be more consistent, but still ranges from brilliant red to rich ruby. Even black can range from smoky gray to jet black. Some colors are rare or less commonly found as perfume bottles due to the cost of ingredients, the difficulty of manufacture, or lack of popularity among the general public. Vaseline and teal are two of these. The technique of mixing two or more colors together to create a swirled or mottled coloration is a variation more commonly found in atomizer-type bottles. Occasionally, a whole rainbow of colors may be found in one bottle. As the Czech perfume bottles were produced primarily for export, they should be marked "Made in Czechoslovakia," or just Czechoslovakia somewhere on the bottle. The acid-etched mark is the most common and typically appears on the polished bottom of the bottle as the words "Made in Czechoslovakia" in an oval, or a circle, or as a simple line or lines of type. I will warn you that these acid marks are often difficult to see. Sometimes tilting the bottom in a bright light or rubbing the bottom with alcohol will help make them visible. The Ingrid line of glass features the name Ingrid in script, followed by Czechoslovakia. Pressed glass bottles typically have a molded mark on the bottom. Simple ink or paint stamp marks come in a variety of colors and are typically circular in shape. On bottles with metal fittings, the mark is usually stamped into the metal neck, but also may be found on the top of the metal threads. On bottles decorated with metal filigree, a tiny metal tag is usually attached to the filigree, or cap. A variety of paper labels may be found alone or in conjunction with any of the other marks. Bottles may also retain an importer label on the bottom or a flat side, such as Aristo, Morley, and Iris being the most common. Iris also had their name molded into some bottles. Miniature Czech bottles like these were inexpensive and popular. These were referred to as Lilliputian in a 1934 advertisement for Aristo bottles imported for Marshall Field and Company. Some Lilliputian bottles were made to look like popular commercial perfumes of the day. Two examples are shown next to Shalimar by Guerlain. This card set miniature might have been given as a prize or favor at a card party. Clear red was used sparingly on Czech minis. Note, it is used more for stoppers and for decorations with clear glass bases. Bottles in clear and shades of lavender. Note the two identical Cupid stoppers. Figural stoppers on minis are desirable. Pink jeweled minis. Pink is the most common color for the colored minis. Mini Czech bottles often have tall tops, giving them the same height as regular bottles. 3 hard-to-find minis, 2 with molded animal heads, and the third, a mini in the form of a woman. Purse bottles are identified by their screw caps. They can be carried in a purse without spilling. The glass on these bases is finely cut. Hinged cases may surround the inner bottles. The second and third from the left are embossed in the metal bases with the importer, Iris. The same grouping with some cases open. 2 tiny jeweled bottles with cut glass bases. The center bottle is a dresser mini. A grouping of 5 fine jeweled purse bottles with enamel decoration as well. Bottles in a similar style with different jeweling. Each has an inner stopper. 3 lay-down bottles, all about 3.5 inches in length. These items with pay point stitchery are most often credited to Austria. Courting couples on porcelain decorate these fronts. Souvenir purse bottles of places traveled. Caged purse bottles, carefully assembled in cottage industry. Workers were poorly paid for their labor. Ingrid purse bottles appeared in about 1934. Most of the purse and dresser Ingrid bottles were opaque green, blue, or black. Red can be found. Bakelite caps in red or black are common on these bottles. 2 Ingrid purse bottles from the same mold. Transparent Ingrid bottles are rare. 2 Ingrid bottles. The green cap on the nude bottle is bakelite. Dangle bottles have molded bases with the word iris embossed in the base glass. They are prized for the variety of charms that hang from the caps. Elephants, dice, hearts and flowers, animal dangles, doll or raggedy dangles. Note the capstone matches an element in the bead couple. Dutch shoe dangles with tiny multicolored gems in the toes of the glass shoes and caps. And 3 very rare dangle bottles. Unusual and delightful molded animal heads top these iris bottles. An iris mini dresser set with a tiny covered ring or trinket box. Another iris set in a metal basket. Cinderella's slipper, made in Czechoslovakia and in Japan. Twin sets for the dresser. Red twin dresser set with a colored dauber. Black accented triplet set has an Aristo paper sticker. It is fun to find intact multiple sets. Cut glass designs were more popular from 1918 to the mid-1920s, when the Art Deco period began. As many as 100 glass houses, or huts as they were called, were producing glass blanks that were sent to a refiner for cutting. These pressed glass blanks were hand-cut on wheels made from iron or natural stone that were mounted on a frame or lathe. Blanks were made in a variety of colors. In addition to colorless glass, pink, blue, green, and yellow were most common. Less common colors were smoke, amber, purple, red, turquoise, and brown. Multi-point stars were a common theme. Even simple straight cuts made at the diagonal on the bottle and stopper could produce a wonderful and interesting design to reflect light. The cut pattern on the base of the bottle was often synonymous with the stopper to create one harmonious design. Other types of cuts include blazes, fans, diamonds, mitered edges, flutes, hobnails, and prisms, all in geometric design. The focal point of many bottles was the stopper, which could be much taller than the base or in an unusual shape to command attention. A rare turquoise or teal cut and mold bottle with tiara stopper. Cut glass cornucopia bottles were also a popular design. Floral stoppers were primarily an Intaglio design. The design was created below the surface of the glass. Hand tools were used to refine the design, creating an intricately detailed and quite realistic floral image. Selected areas were then polished, leaving portions of the design with a frosted appearance. Most stoppers are colorless glass, but once in a while, one might find a colored stopper to match the base of the bottle. Infrequently, stoppers were made with a design on both sides of the glass, or double intaglio. The glass on these stoppers may be twice the thickness of the one-sided stoppers, with a different design on each side. The flowers on this stopper are impressed on one side, and the basket is engraved on the other. Less common are floral stoppers that were mold-blown with the design in relief. Flowers in relief appear occasionally on cut glass stoppers. This stopper features double intaglio bluebells with molded flowers along each side. This brown floral wreath stopper is relief molded with an open center. A number of stoppers were made to show openings through the glass. The basket here has an opening to create the handle. This type of stopper is called open work or pierced. A ring of roses with an opening in the middle creates a wreath-like effect. Flowers of all types, some with birds, butterflies, or other creatures, can be found in seemingly endless designs and shapes. Daubers are glass wands or sticks on the end of the stopper plug. They were used to apply the perfume, and they reached the bottom of the base. These early Czech bottles all had them, and they came in 3 types. A few were attached by cement or glue into a hole that had been drilled into the plug. Rarely, the stopper, plug, and dauber were molded as one piece. The most common type uses a drop of hot glass for attachment. The dauber pushed into the hot glass forms a ring as it fuses to the plug. Colored daubers may be found on Hoffman bottles. Here you can see the glass ring formed at the attachment point. If a dauber is broken off, the presence of this glass ring will assure you that it is an original Czech stopper and not a reproduction. If the ring is ground off, the plug will look the same as all the reproduction stoppers that are produced with just a flat plug. Daubers can be replaced, but epoxy resins are used to glue them on and don't have the look of an original on the right. Acetone will remove or cloud the glue of a replaced dauber. This pair of matching bottles have stoppers that lock or seat tightly in the neck opening. Stoppers should have little wobble when locked. Each stopper is fitted with its specific base opening to lock and sit at a correct height in the neck of the base. Even when these matching stoppers are switched, they do not fit correctly. The one on the right sits too high, and the frosted plug shows above the lip of the neck. The one on the left sits too low, and part of the stopper face is actually down into the neck opening. These are the stopper types we will cover. Intaglio stoppers have the design press molded into one side of the stopper. The surface around the design and the reverse side are then polished flat. This bee and rose stopper are repeated in the jewel work. Butterflies and florals on these. A bird in flight, or sitting on a branch, showing off his tail. Cupids, putti, and children were popular subjects. Gorgeous in red, this Cupid has his bow ready. These edges are molded and frosted to frame the subject. Neoclassical designs were quite popular with Czech artisans. Dancing figures on this stopper are framed with cut and polished edges. Colonial men and women are popular subjects. This huge stopper has edges cut to reflect the base. A portrait stopper. This colonial couple extends past the edges of the oval frame. Full figures of young girls. The fine detail of the image is framed with molded frosted flowers. This large stopper of a nude with wings and antenna is rare. The Art Deco influence of the time. This girl appears suspended in flight. Here she stands on a butterfly. Nude in chrysanthemums. Nude stoppers are highly sought after by collectors. A deco bather. A nude couple known as Adam and Eve. Men alone on stoppers are seldom seen. Shown here is the Archer. This large double nude stopper is prized by collectors. Double Intaglio stoppers have an image impressed on both sides of the stopper with surrounding area polished flat. This gives the image depth and a dynamic quality. These sparrows seem truly in flight. Two birds, one molded on each side. This couple face each other as they dance. Shadows of his leg and her skirt add to the three-dimensional quality. Nudes dance with scarves on this stopper. Leaping nudes with strings of pearls. Note that one arm is molded on the other side. Relief stoppers are molded above the surface and finished with acid frosting. The back of the stopper and often edges are highly polished. A pair of cranes. Relief molded lovers in an ornate scrolled frame. A full figure nude carrying a cascade of flowers. Molded and acid etched, the bird sits in high relief amidst roses. Pierced stoppers are molded with one or more openings through the stopper design. Most often used with relief images and the reverse polished flat, they are usually thicker glass to add strength. This romantic couple appear more lifelike with the four open work areas. The piercing allows these ladies with bouquets to stand free in the arched frames. This 18th century couple encircled with floral etched glass is known as George and Martha to collectors. This large stopper of an elegant lady with large hat and dog at her feet has 7 pierced or open areas. Tahitian-inspired lady with lei emerges from flower. This pierced tiara stopper with relief molded flowers and intaglio cut and polished butterfly shows many techniques on one stopper. Lady Godiva, of course. Tango dancers. Deco-inspired semi-nude. Large purple stopper of lady with cornucopia filled with flowers. Deeply molded and pierced, classical figure in Art Deco design. Stain stoppers are rare. They are actually a finely applied fired-on enamel rather than the patina applied by the French to glass. Several colors applied to the recessed intaglio butterfly design. Polishing the surface flat removes excess enamel. Large stopper of woman and birds is stained peach and blue. Pale yellow and orange staining on these jitterbug dancers gives exceptional depth. graduation of the colors gives a striking effect to these three graces. Stoppers by Henrik Hoffman use the same techniques as the other designers. What sets them apart is the fine detail and quality, and the open-winged butterfly signature. It is on the lower right on this stopper. A servant fans Egyptian royalty in a tent. A peacock shows off its tail, or a water bearer climbs a hill. Some stoppers have edges cut or molded to be the image they represent. Open-winged butterfly with hand-cut details and frosted body. An Art Deco fish and a perfectly cut elephant. Three-dimensional stoppers are full molded glass sculptures. Here, an elephant stands on the world. They can be viewed from all sides, as with this Ingrid torso stopper. This butterfly hovers over a flower. A very tall, full-figured woman on this Schmidt bottle. A nude floats over this Hoffman bottle and sits in fine detail atop another. A couple dances. A perfect Venus de Milo crowns a classical Hoffman vase. The figures appear on some bases. An Intaglio molded draped lady kneels. An Art Deco portrait. An Intaglio man holding a parrot vase. A relief molded nude amidst flowers on this Ingrid bottle. This frosted and molded vase has women's heads on each end and a polished window to view the perfume. A large-sized vase with three-dimensional women on each end holding the vessel. The Czech opaque glass formulas were designed to mimic the coloration and striations found in natural stones. Green opaque is the most common and may be called malachite, jade, jadeite, or Peking glass. The mix of different intensities of color and opacity, as well as how the molds were filled, creates this dynamic glass. Some mixes may be more homologous, as in this jade glass bottle called Venus Rising, but the next may be completely different in malachite glass. No two items are identical. Opaque glass will bring out details of the design not easily seen in clear reflective glass. There were many designers, but the Riedel company produced most of this glass. Polishing of edges and certain aspects gave a high shine to selected areas. Another technique of finishing was the thumbprint or martelet technique used by Hoffman. Plain surfaces of the design were wheel ground to give a chiseled marble effect. Opaque bottles are seldom jeweled, as this tends to hide the intrinsic beauty of the glass. The next most common is lapis glass, made to copy the lapis lazuli stone. Coloration will vary from medium blue to almost navy. A rare Ingrid Art Deco design with a kneeling woman on one side and a molded deer on the other. The sides are polished, as is the bottom. Turquoise or aqua is always a popular color. There is usually a lot of white in the mix that brings out the molded details. A pierced stopper of a basket of flowers sits tall on a square base of roses. A rare Art Deco design in vertical rows of polished circles. The white adds to the contrast. Red is a rare color and varies, like all these opaques, from dark to bright. A little bird sits on a branch. This Hoffman bottle has a red base with gray enamel staining added to highlight the flowers and red and gray staining on the clear stopper. Coral is another rare color and may vary from orange to a pale angel skin. This Hoffman bottle has a kneeling woman on the ends of both sides. Brown or brown agate in another Hoffman bottle using the thumbprint or martelet cutting. The mix of dark and lighter browns with this cutting produces a marked stone-like quality. White opaque can be pure white or have touches of another color to produce an off-white color. They usually have a contrasting color stopper or base. The striations in this ivory glass are usually seen in polished areas. The effect is quite dramatic when on a red crystal base. Translucent opalescent Czech glass is uncommon in bottles, but rivals any French production. This rose quartz base has the look of candy canes with its striations of deep rose in a translucent white base. The design detail does get lost in the dramatic glass. It is a rare opaque color and may be quite pale as seen in this glass jewel. Two colors in opaque produces a cameo glass effect. Filling the molds would have been very difficult and few were made. High relief molding in this two-color opaque produces a striking effect. Only the bottom, lip, and stopper edges were polished. Black is the most common opaque color and usually serves as background for embellishments. Here a band of large Austrian crystals with black glass backs wrap the bottle, or hold Wedgwood-style classical insets. Contrasting colors in stoppers are more usual, as in this Leda and the Swan bottle. Or this jeweled Schmidt bottle. Another large jeweled Schmidt bottle with white opaque glass stopper. The color and variety in opaque glass Czech bottles makes them a desirable addition to any Czech collection. Czech jeweled bottles are just that, bottles all draped and wrapped in Czech jewelry elements. A finished bottle would be sent by the exporter to the shops that added the stones and metalwork, either jewelry makers or closely associated shops, and done to the client or importer's order. Colored glass sticks or canes, supplied by several Czech glass companies, were reheated and press molded into all the designs we see. Opaque glass florals were popular, as were foil back cut crystal stones, marcasites, and faux pearls. And bakelite was hand-carved into roses. The stamped metal filigree is soft and pliable, making it easy to bend into bottle shapes. Additional elements would be stamped from thin metal sheets. These leaves are an example. The Gertlers, who were metalworking craftsmen, would fit and solder the various elements into the final product. The metal was brass, copper, or tombac, an alloy of copper and zinc. The metal was fire gilded, or later electroplated gold or silver. Silver-colored metal is unusual in Czech bottles, and later production is rhodium-plated. Jablonec or Jablonec was the center of Czech jewelry production. The tie to Czech jewelry is evident in items that use the same stamped metal pieces. The small ladies' heads in the necklace are used in a larger size on this bottle. Feathers adorn her hair. The malachite stones used in this necklace are repeated in this bottle by Hoffman with the metal signed Czechoslovakia. The curved malachite glass stones in this butterfly brooch are repeated in this jeweled bottle. Glass could be molded to become jewels for feet, or cut glass beads used to raise the bottle. Metal ball feet are more commonly found. Rarely, large metal pieces were soldered to the filigree. This bottle has a Persian design highlighted with black enamel set across the front. A large glass marbled amethyst stone. These large purple opaque stones are desirable. A cut glass jeweled Schmidt shoe bottle. Turquoise crystal bottles are rare and jeweled ones very rare. Czech jeweling may have a painted-on type enamel to add more detailing to the design. Unusual stones are held here by the pliable metal. Strings of pearls on wires were used. Red and black is always a dramatic color combination. The colors of the stones were selected to complement the color of the glass. Czech jeweling did not escape the world's fascination with all things Egyptian following the discovery of King Tut's tomb. The availability of special orders by importers produced this line that was sold in Cairo shops. The detailing with the use of paints and jewels on Vader and Schmidt bottles was superb. The dimensional floral jeweling was also done on bottles by Vader. They are also special. The variety in subject and techniques used on Czech jeweled bottles was only limited by the imagination. Austrian jeweling is different than Czech jeweling in many respects. Bronze was used as the metal rather than the softer metals the Czechs used, and stones were bezel set. Paintings on ivory were often used in Austrian jeweling, and bottles usually stood on bronze feet. Setting glass stones in the hard metal took very skilled artisans. Bronze collars often wrap the neck of the bottle and hold simple but elegant stoppers that complement the bases. For centuries, several Bohemian glass refiners had produced this type of cut-to-clear glass and undoubtedly supplied the glass to Austria. This type of metal base is never simple. Here, several layers of stamped and cast bronze pieces are soldered to the main stem and foot. A cranberry cut to clear bottle with bronze collar and stopper cap, all set with pink and purple agate type stones. Austrian enameling is a true fired eggshell enamel, unlike the painted on enamel on Czech bottles. When this enamel is bent, it will shatter and crumble like glass. The strong bronze support helps prevent this. An ornate atomizer comprised of many parts. Purple, white, and black enamel complete the design. Guilloche type enamel is also used in this Austrian jeweling. Here, pink enamel has added bronze cupids, or orange on base and stopper. Even when the metal seems delicate, large stones are held firmly in the bronze. The quality of enameling is among the best you can find on perfume bottles. Combined with the brilliant cut crystal Bohemian glass, the result is striking. As we have seen, the use of cast bronze pieces is another characteristic of Austrian jeweling. This turquoise Hoffman bottle uses rose swags, usually associated with French decoration. A perfect cast bronze medallion of a shepherdess and sheep is set into the metal. Heavy bands hold an enameled parrot on the ends of this Hoffman bottle. The use of large stones is another characteristic of Austrian jeweling. Here, a large molded and frosted glass swan floats. Silver plating is also more common than in Czech jeweling. And marcasites are often used. Finding the tiny Austrian stamp in the metal is often challenging. It may be hidden in the design, on the top of a collar or the bottom of a foot, or simply stamped into the base. Paper labels may be present and seem to all be T&B, made in Austria. Little can be found on this company, who may be responsible for all this Austrian jeweling on the Czech glass bottles. Rarely, the glass will have an Austrian acid stamp. Austrian jeweling is superb, whether done with unusual glass, set with simple large stones, or set with hundreds of tiny stones, using unusual Czech glass. Here, a rare Hoffman bottle, classically embellished with fine metal, and set with Medusa head glass jewel, or outrageously enameled with ultra-modern Mondrian-inspired design. To some collectors, the Czechoslovakian perfume bottles with three-dimensional nude female stoppers are the epitome of the early 20th century glass art. The bottles and stoppers were designed by Heinrich Hoffman, and jeweling when present is Austrian. Hoffman's signature butterfly mark will be on the base and stopper. The 1927 Hoffman catalog pictures 5 sizes of these bottles, A, B, C, D, and E, in ascending order of height from 8 to 16.5 centimeters. All bases are of the same basic pattern, with canted shoulders, vertical sides, and gently flared bases, presenting the viewer with a sense of balance and proportion. This symmetrical bottle design focuses the collector's eyes on the nude female stopper suspended from the neck of the bottle and visible from all sides. Each of the 5 different size stoppers is made from a different mold, and each mold corresponds to its respectively sized base. The stoppers are not interchangeable since, as in the manufacturing of all Czechoslovakian bottles, each stopper is individually ground and hand finished to fit the specific bottle neck. The stoppers for sizes A, B, and E bottles are a nude female whose arms flow upward over her head and whose face in bas-relief looks to the left, right, or up respectively. The size C mold is similar to the others. However, her pose has her hands and arms attempting to cover her nudity. The nude figure in the size D mold also has her arms raised, but the centered bas-relief face looks directly forward. The stopper finials vary in design from the more common fan shape and flat top to the less common rose dome. Finials were also rarely made with a 3-dimensional swan. Both bottles and stoppers were produced in a variety of colors, including opaque black. Embellishments to the bottles include metal bases and matching neck collars, both set with various gemstones, jewels, or seed pearls. Or highlighted with elaborate enamel work. Some of the bases rest on attached carved crystal or jeweled feet. The rarest metal bases and collars are gold-plated. A written description of these works of Czechoslovakian art glass fails to depict their ultimate aesthetic and should be viewed in person when possible. All these bottles were available as sets, usually a perfume, atomizer, and powder, or perhaps with elaborate hand mirrors, hairbrushes, clocks, frames, and anything a lady could desire at her vanity. We hope this has helped give you information to start collecting these beauties, one bottle at a time. And before you know it,